In the Middle East, hopes for an end to the fighting are fragile. Ceasefires on two fronts are now in place, but permanent peace still seems some way off. Lebanon is one of those fronts. This morning, residents of a southern town have received a stark warning from the Israeli military. The message: get out now or potentially face coming under attack. This latest order comes just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump's declaration that Israel and Lebanon had signed a 3-week extension to their original 10-day ceasefire. But Hezbollah, Iran's proxy in Lebanon, isn't a part of that agreement, and a Hezbollah lawmaker in Lebanon's parliament calls the deal meaningless. Today's evacuation warning covers a community beyond Israel's self-declared security zone inside Lebanon. The Israeli military says it's in response to Hezbollah rocket fire. And we do want to take you now live to Lebanon. The CBC's Chris Brown is in the capital, Beirut. Chris, Lebanon may want peace, but with this latest warning from Israel and the regular clashes between Israel and Hezbollah, can this even be called a ceasefire?
Well, I don't think so. Particularly this incident really demonstrates that it isn't a ceasefire. It's more like the zone of combat has shrunk to what Israel calls this buffer zone in the south, and this order is for a village just outside of it. Every day there have been attacks in the area. Israel's military killed 5 people in southern Lebanon the other day, including a well-known journalist, 2 more people yesterday. In each case, the IDF says they were eliminating terrorists. Hezbollah last night launched rockets at an Israeli community that's just across the border. So what you're seeing today is likely in retaliation for that. Here's what some people here in Beirut are saying about this ceasefire extension.
ترامب بأمريكا بأنه مرقنا لكم 3 أسابيع. شو هالحكي هيدا؟ هذا مش وقف إطلاق نار. هيدا يعني ابتزاز أكثر من ابتزاز سياسي لرئاسة الجمهورية عنا، لرئاسة الحكومة.
نحن بدنا اياه يصير على طول، يعني مش بس اسبوع و3 جماع، يعني ويوش انه خلص يصير كل الوقت وقف اطلاق النار وخلص ونخلص من هالقصة. نحن شعب تعب أكثر من 50 سنة، نفس الدوامة بنرجع بنعيد.
So not peace as most people would define it, but the White House meeting has probably bought this process as it is some time, and so in that sense, it's progress.
Now, Chris, Hezbollah, of course, has been missing from the table in these ongoing rounds of talks. Is there any hope then that Lebanese officials can get Hezbollah to accept the terms of a ceasefire?
Well, under this whole arrangement, it is up to the Lebanese government to ensure Hezbollah, which, remember, is backed by Iran, funded by Iran, make sure that the group abides by this ceasefire. Not only is Hezbollah embedded in these southern communities, it's also embedded in Lebanon's national government. We spoke to a long-time political watcher here who said, yes, it is possible to demilitarize the militants, but first you have to cut off their political and economic support. Have a listen.
Disarming Hezbollah starts by debunking its whole narrative that it actually fights on behalf of Lebanon and on behalf of the Shia. You should basically debunk its narrative. Second, get rid of its operatives in the government. And more importantly, have a kind of a political strategy for encircling it and ultimately demobilizing it.
As for a timeline for confronting Hezbollah successfully, well, it's not instant, but Makram Rabah said it also doesn't have to be years. The first step would be for Lebanon's president to deploy the army in Shia areas that are popular for Hezbollah in Beirut and then in the south, thereby challenging the militants' authority directly. Arthi.
Now, Chris, also more broadly, what is the impact here specifically for the U.S.? How much urgency is there for the United States to help broker a lasting deal between Israel and Lebanon?
Well, it seems the Trump administration sees this ceasefire as tied into this bigger strategic issue of Iran, in particular, how to neutralize the power of Iran's proxies, such as Hezbollah. And some Lebanese see this as a good thing. They see Trump as being very helpful, as it has gotten Israel, for example, and Lebanon talking. It could also help sever this tie between Hezbollah and their Iranian masters. But the bigger question is really, how much of an attention span does Donald Trump have for this? And the worrying answer for many here is maybe not a long one. You get a sense he's trying to rush things, especially yesterday in the Oval Office when he talked about this potential visit by Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun and Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. It's something that I suspect the Lebanese side is going to try to slow walk, while Lebanese people, many of them seem okay with talking to the Israelis at an ambassadorial level. It really is quite another thing to have your president shaking the hand of the leader of the country that's currently occupying dozens of your communities. Arthi.
Chris, thank you for the latest on this. That is the CBC's Chris Brown on the ground in Beirut. So for the many Lebanese civilians displaced by the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, the ceasefire extension was offering some hope. But the new evacuation warning only reinforces the concern many have. Can they return home when there's still no permanent peace? Earlier, we spoke to Carolina Lindholm-Billing, the United Nations human rights representative in Lebanon. Here's part of that conversation.
What I'm hearing right now on the ground is the sound of drones surveilling above Beirut. But apart from that, I've just been down in the south earlier today in Saida, where I met with both the local authorities and people who had been displaced from further south of Lebanon. They were all very much welcoming, of course, this extension. One family I met at a collective shelter in Saida showed me photos of their house, which is further south, indeed close to Deir, and there it was just rubble, everything destroyed. He said, the clothes I'm wearing is all I have managed to rescue and bring with me before I fled. And that story we heard from many of the displaced. So even if there is a ceasefire that's more stable going forward, many won't have any homes to return to. But also many are worried about if they go back and start rebuilding now, what if it doesn't hold? What if there are new attacks?
That is Carolina Lindholm-Billing. She is the United Nations human rights representative in Lebanon.